I'm Jody. Standing in the opulent ballroom of the Riverdale Country Club, I watched as my father's world crumbled before my eyes. The annual gala of the Thompson Family Foundation was in full swing, with 300 guests dressed to the nines, sipping champagne and mingling. But tonight, the spotlight was on me, or rather, on the evidence my husband, Lucas, had painstakingly gathered. Lucas, a meticulous architect, had spent weeks poring over public records, uncovering a web of deception and embezzlement that my father, Richard Thompson, had woven over the years. As I watched him calmly approach the board chairman, the pastor, and the compliance officer, handing each of them a folder filled with damning evidence, I felt a mix of relief and trepidation. It all started a few weeks ago when my mother, Cynthia, asked me to help her organize the foundation's financial records for the upcoming gala. I was a certified accountant, and my skills were well suited for the task. Little did I know that this simple request would lead to a chain of events that would shatter my family and expose the dark secrets hidden beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect lives. Growing up in Riverdale, a small, close-knit town where everyone knew everyone else, the Thompson name was synonymous with wealth, power, and philanthropy. My father was the CEO of Riverdale Bank and the driving force behind the Thompson Family Foundation, which provided scholarships to underprivileged students. He was respected and admired by all, a pillar of the community. But behind closed doors, he was a tyrant, a man who believed in maintaining a strict hierarchy within the family. My younger brother, Ethan, was the golden child. At 26, he had just graduated from business school with average grades, yet my father had landed him a cushy job at the bank. Meanwhile, I had graduated summa cum laude from college and passed the CPA exam on the first try. I was hired by a reputable accounting firm in town, but my father always belittled my achievements, saying that accounting was a menial job. When I married Lucas, a kind-hearted and hard-working architect, my father was less than pleased. He pulled me aside at the rehearsal dinner and said, "Well, at least you've found someone who'll take you." Lucas heard it, but he didn't let it show. He was always the calm one, the one who saw the best in people. That Sunday afternoon, when my mother called and asked for help, I didn't hesitate. I drove to my parents' house while my father was out on the golf course. As I sat in my father's office, going through the financial records, everything seemed normal at first. But then I noticed something strange. Payments to a company called Horizon Consulting. There were no contracts, no project descriptions, just a series of payments totaling over $50,000. My professional instinct kicked in, and I started digging deeper. I found more payments to Horizon and 2 other shell companies, all with the same vague descriptions. It was clear that something was wrong. I took screenshots of the entries, thinking I could ask my father about it casually. That night, after putting our kids to bed, I called my father. I kept my tone light, but I could feel the tension on the other end of the line. "Dad, I was helping Mom with the foundation records, and I noticed these payments to Horizon Consulting. Can you tell me what they're for?" There was a long silence, and then his cold, controlled voice came through. "When did I ask you to audit my foundation? You're just an accountant at a small firm. Don't think you're qualified to question me." He ordered me to stop snooping and never mention it again. Over the next few weeks, the atmosphere in my family changed. Ethan called me, telling me to stay out of it, that I was ruining the family. My aunt canceled our lunch plans, and my mother stopped answering my calls. It was clear that my father was spreading his version of the story, painting me as a paranoid and trouble-making daughter. 2 days later, my father invited me to the house. When I arrived, the living room was set up like a courtroom. My father sat in his armchair, Ethan on the sofa across from him. My mother was nowhere to be seen. My father told me that the foundation was his legacy and that I would never say a word about what I'd seen. When I asked him why, if there was nothing wrong, he simply said, "Because I said so." I couldn't believe what was happening. I stood up for myself and said that I hadn't planned to tell anyone, but his refusal to answer my questions spoke volumes. I walked out of the house, my hands shaking. 3 days later, my world came crashing down. I woke up to 15 text messages, 8 missed calls, and a screenshot from my coworker. It was a post on my father's social media page. He had publicly disowned me, saying that I had brought shame to the family. The post went viral in our town, and within hours, everyone knew about it. My daughter came home from school crying, saying that her classmates had called her a bad kid because of what I'd done. At work, people looked at me differently. My boss called me into his office and told me that 2 clients had asked about the post. I felt like my reputation was in tatters. But Lucas refused to let it go. He believed that there was more to the story. Every night after I went to bed, he sat in the kitchen researching. He found that Horizon Consulting and the other 2 companies were either dissolved or had no legitimate business operations. And the payments from the foundation to these companies totaled over $180,000. He also tracked down an old board member of the foundation, Ms. Harris, who had left suddenly 2 years ago. She told him that she had started asking questions about the payments and was pressured to resign by my father. And then, one day, a manila envelope appeared in our mailbox. Inside was a USB drive and a note from my mother. She had finally found the courage to expose my father's secrets. The USB contained evidence of my father's embezzlement, including payments made to cover Ethan's apartment rent. Armed with this evidence, Lucas and I made a plan. At the gala, we would present the evidence to the key people involved with the foundation. And that's how we ended up here in the ballroom, watching my father's downfall. As my father saw Lucas approaching the important guests with the folders, his face turned pale. He tried to stop Lucas, but it was too late. The evidence was presented, and the truth began to unfold. In the following days, the dominoes started to fall. My father was suspended from his position at the bank, and the foundation launched an independent audit. Ethan was reassigned to a less prominent role at the bank. The social media post that had once destroyed my reputation was now seen as the act of a guilty man trying to silence the truth. My phone started to ring again, but this time, it was with apologies. My neighbors, my friends, and even my coworkers reached out to say they were sorry for believing my father's lies. My boss promoted me to senior accountant, recognizing my integrity and courage. My mother finally found the strength to leave my father. She moved into an apartment of her own and called me regularly, sharing her new-found freedom. It wasn't easy. Some relationships were broken beyond repair, and the scars of this ordeal would take time to heal. But I learned that silence is not loyalty, and sometimes the truth has to be fought for, no matter the cost. Before I end the story, I want to share 3 lessons I've learned. First, don't mistake silence for loyalty. Sometimes, speaking up is the most loving thing you can do for your family. Second, if someone tries to destroy your reputation in public, ask yourself what they're hiding. And third, you don't need to shout to be powerful. All you need is the truth and the courage to stand up for it. If this story resonates with you, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care of yourselves.